The car door opened to the hush of a wet city evening. A fine rain lay over the street like a silver veil. Sandra stepped out in a black hoodie, dark jeans, and soft shoes. She pulled the cap lower to shade her eyes. It was not a disguise, not really. It was comfort. It was a wish for a quiet night. She had flown across time zones for a charity event, and the long flight had left a soft ache behind her eyes. She wanted a shower, a warm drink, and a good sleep. The luxury hotel rose like a calm ship above the street. Warm light spilled through tall windows. Inside, a grand lobby spread out in marble and gold. A crystal chandelier hung like a frozen fountain. People came and went in soft coats and polished shoes. A piano on the far side sent out gentle notes. It all felt steady and kind. She walked through the revolving door. The air smelled like citrus and polished wood. A bellboy pushed a luggage cart across the floor. A couple took a photo by a flower wall. A family whispered to two sleepy children. The front desk stood in a long curve of dark wood, with screens that glowed softly and little bowls of mints near the edge. 3 staff members worked behind it. Their uniforms were crisp, their smiles neat. Sandra stepped into line. She kept her head down and her hands easy at her sides. She had booked under her full name. She had a confirmation email. The booking was arranged days ago. Her plan was simple: check in fast, go up, rest. No fuss. The line moved. A woman in a white suit received a sweet key and a rose-shaped chocolate. A man with a suitcase asked about wake-up calls. The receptionist in the middle, a woman with smooth hair and a perfect name tag that read Violet, spoke in a warm voice that floated and sparkled. She had a way of leaning forward for some guests as if nothing else in the world mattered, then rolling her shoulders back with satisfaction. Sandra reached the desk. She lifted her cap just enough to meet Violet's eyes and smiled. "Good evening. I have a reservation. Sandra Bullock." Her voice was gentle. She placed her ID and credit card on the counter. Violet's smile stayed bright for one breath, and then it cooled by a few degrees. Her gaze flicked from the name on the ID to Sandra's hoodie, then back to the screen. "One moment," she said. Fingertips moved over keys. Her expression did not change, but something in the air did. It was small. It was the way a person can be sweet and distant at the same time. Sandra waited. She looked at a bowl of green mints. She looked at the little sign that said, "Welcome home." Her shoulders settled. She was used to travel, used to patience. She did not want to draw attention. She did not want to take off the cap or make a call or ask for special help. She wanted the normal guest path like anyone else. Violet frowned at the screen. "I'm not seeing it in the system," she said. She spoke lightly, yet her voice carried just enough for the line to hear. "Could you step aside for a moment while I try something?" She nodded toward a low lounge area beside the desk. "Of course," Sandra said. She kept the smile. "I also have a confirmation email, if that helps." Violet said. "You can show it when you come back. Please wait over there for now." The words were correct, but the tone had a thin edge, like glass. Sandra gathered her ID and card and moved aside. She stood by a small table with neatly folded city maps. She checked her phone. The confirmation email was there. The timestamp was right. The room type was clear. She took a quiet breath and looked around the lobby. A bellboy approached with a careful smile. He looked young, with kind eyes and a name tag that read Arjun. He held a tray with water in tall glasses. "Would you like some water, ma'am?" he asked. "Thank you," Sandra said. She took a glass. The water was cold and clean. She felt the coolness in her hand and in her throat. "It's been a long day." "Welcome," Arjun said. He wanted to say more. He had recognized her the moment she lifted the cap, but he also knew the house rule, privacy first. He kept his voice even. "If you need anything, I'm right here." "Thank you," she said again, and meant it. The soft piano went on. A door opened to the rain, and two more guests entered with damp coats. At a corner table, a man in a dark jacket sat with a book open in his hands. The jacket was plain, the book well thumbed. He looked up once, eyes clear and steady, then returned to the page. He had the quiet of someone who travels often and moves without noise. A staff member placed tea beside him. He thanked them in a low voice and went back to reading. At the desk, Violet blended warmth and speed for the next guest. "Of course, Mr. Collins, we're so happy you're here," she sang. "Yes, your room has the city view. May I offer a late checkout?" The words flowed like a small stream over smooth stones. Then Violet glanced at Sandra. Her smile flattened. She clicked her keyboard twice and waved at someone in the back. "I need a minute," she said to herself, but loudly, as if to be heard. Sandra stepped up again, calm. "I have the email," she said. "Would you like to see it?" Violet glanced at the screen of Sandra's phone. "That format is odd," she said. "We normally receive a different code." She did not look long. She did not ask to scan the QR code that sat right there. "Please wait in the lounge. I will call the back office." Her voice carried again. A couple behind Sandra looked at one another with a small, curious smile. Sandra nodded and stepped back. She did not want a scene. Her cap stayed low. She finished the water and held the empty glass with care. Rain ticked on the windows. Near the door, a family tried to keep two children happy with a little toy car that slid over the marble. The father tried his card at the desk and frowned when it beeped. The mother spoke softly to the kids. "Almost there, sweetheart," she said. "Almost there." Arjun watched them, then looked at Sandra, then back at the family. He wanted to help all of them. He took two small paper cranes from his pocket. He had folded them during a lunch break. He knelt by the kids and handed them the cranes with a smile. Their faces lit up. The parents smiled and relaxed for a moment. In the lounge, the man with the book looked up again. He had noticed the rhythm of the room, the way small kindness changed the air. He had also noticed the way Violet's tone changed between guests. It was not a big scene, but it was real. He closed the book lightly, kept a finger inside to hold his page, and watched the desk. His face was calm, but attentive. He was in town for the same charity event as Sandra. His schedule was light tonight. He had time to sit. He had time to see. Sandra came back to the desk and offered her phone again. "Here is the confirmation," she said, still gentle. "And my ID. And my card." Violet touched the phone with a polished nail and looked away. "We will need to verify with the reservations team," she said. "It may take a while. Please sit." Her words were neat. Her eyes moved past Sandra to the next guest. "Good evening, sir. How may I assist you?" Warmth again, like a light switched on. The sound of those words made a few people turn their heads. Sandra felt the small heat that comes when you are made to wait with no clear reason, when others pass you, when your name is a question instead of a welcome. She did not react. She pressed her lips together and nodded once. Her choice was calm. It was not weakness. It was a choice to keep the night simple. Arjun returned with a small plate of lemon cookies. He set it on the edge of the lounge table. "For you, ma'am," he said softly. On the house. He had checked with the kitchen. He had taken the chance. Sandra smiled up at him, bright but tired. "You're very kind," she said. "What is your name?" He told her. She repeated it, as if to place it in a safe part of her mind. At the desk, the family's card failed again. The father's shoulders slumped. The little boy held the paper crane to the light, studying it. Sandra stepped back from her own place and spoke to the mother in a gentle voice. "You can go ahead of me," she said. "I think I need a few minutes anyway." The mother thanked her, relieved. They moved forward together. The man in the dark jacket had seen enough to form a picture. He did not rush. He did not judge. He stood slowly, slipped the book into his jacket pocket, and carried his tea toward the desk. His steps were easy. He waited a moment, then looked toward Arjun with an open expression that invited a word. "Is your printer working tonight?" he asked. His voice was steady. It was neither loud nor soft. It had the weight of simple care. "Yes, sir," Arjun said. He straightened a little, both nervous and hopeful. "Do you still do manual check-in when the system is slow?" the man asked. "I've seen it in other places. A form, a copy of ID, a deposit. Then the audit later." "Only with approval," Arjun said. "Manager level. Or for certain guests." He did not say the word VIP. He did not need to. The man nodded and looked back toward the desk. He did not push. He waited and watched. A hotel is a world of small rules and large feelings. He knew that. He had seen it from every angle. The lobby screens flashed a weather notice. Flight delays. Heavy showers. Expect late arrivals. A soft sigh moved through the room, the sigh of a travel day stretching longer than planned. Two guests opened umbrellas near the door. A porter carried in a stack of dry towels. Sandra stood near the maps, phone in hand. She chose to keep her hood up. She could remove it and end the confusion in a breath. She could call the general manager, who would hurry from the office and smooth everything with extra care and extra words. She could do many things. Instead, she waited like any other tired traveler and let the night show people as they were. Violet closed a folder and smiled at the next guest with open warmth. The warmth dimmed when she looked at Sandra again. "We still don't see your reservation," she said. "You may try another hotel." She said it gently, yet the sentence landed. It landed with the little weight of a door that moves you back a step. Sandra's fingers tightened around her phone for half a second. She released them. "Could we do a manual check-in?" she asked. "I can pay now. You can run the audit later." "I'd be grateful." "We don't do that," Violet said. "Not for this situation." Her eyes moved over Sandra's hoodie. "Please wait." Arjun looked down at the desk, a small crease between his brows. He understood the policy. He also understood the promise on the welcome sign. The promise felt true when people believed it. The man with the dark jacket placed his tea on the corner of the desk. He did not raise his voice. He did not name anyone. "Excuse me," he said to the staff. "May I speak with a manager about manual check-in options?" His tone was respectful, calm, and firm. A door behind the desk opened. A woman with a neat bun and a measured step came out. Her name tag read Miss Davenport. She looked from the man to Sandra, then toward Violet. "What seems to be the issue?" she asked. Violet answered first. "Guest confusion with the reservation," she said quickly. "We're trying to help." She did not mention the email on the phone. She did not mention the card. She did not mention the small crowd of eyes now turned gently in their direction. The piano paused. The rain softened and then grew again. The chandelier held steady light, as if the room itself were waiting to see what would happen next. The man with the dark jacket stood without rush, like a steady tree in a light wind. He looked at Miss Davenport with kind attention. He did not say his name. He did not have to. He was simply another guest who cared about fairness on a rainy night. Somewhere behind his calm eyes there was a decision forming, the kind that changes a room without a shout. He placed the book face down on the desk beside his tea, and the page number waited under his finger. He looked from the manager to the receptionist to Sandra, and then back again, as if he had all the time in the world to do one simple thing right. Miss Davenport listened with a patient face as the man in the dark jacket asked about manual check-in. Her hands were steady on the counter. She looked like someone who liked clear lines and clean steps. "We have a process," she said. "If the reservation is not in the system, we verify with the back office. That can take time." The man nodded. "I understand. Tonight, time matters. It's raining. Flights are delayed. People are tired. Manual check-in is simple. ID deposit. Sign. Audit later. You help the guest now, and you make the system whole in the morning." Violet kept her gaze on the screen, but her shoulders lifted a little as if she were holding her breath. "We do manual for certain guests," she said. "That is the policy." "Certain," the man repeated. He did not smile. "Is there a word after certain?" Violet looked at him, then at Sandra, then down again. "Approved," she said at last. Miss Davenport glanced toward the small line that had started to curve into a second line. She watched the parents with two kids trying not to look worried. She watched Sandra's calm posture and the way she held her phone without pushing it forward like a weapon. She looked back at the man with the book and the tea. He seemed gentle, but he also seemed sure. "We can do manual if the guest accepts a temporary hold," Miss Davenport said. "We will still call the back office." "That is fair," the man said. He stepped aside so Miss Davenport could face Sandra. Sandra kept her voice soft. "I accept the hold," she said. "I can pay now. I have everything you need." Violet clicked the keys again. "We should wait for confirmation," she said. "There have been, cases." She did not look up. She tapped the key with a small sharp sound, like rain on glass. The man looked at the little sign by the desk. It was engraved in metal, "True luxury is dignity for everyone." He read it once more and then met Miss Davenport's eyes. "You already posted your promise," he said. "You can match it now." Arjun stood just to the side, near the water tray. His shoulders were straight. If the manager said yes, he could bring the manual forms in 10 seconds. He could copy the ID. He could clear a path to a room. He knew which rooms were ready. He had checked them himself with extra care before the rain began. Miss Davenport nodded once, as if to herself. "All right," she said. "We will do manual." Violet turned. "But please prepare the form," Miss Davenport said, not unkind. "Arjun, bring the manual kit." Arjun moved fast and smooth, like someone guiding a boat into a calm dock. He returned with a leather folder. Inside were crisp papers, a small card imprint device, sticky notes, a pen that wrote in bold blue, and a clean clear sleeve for a copy of the ID. Sandra placed her ID and card on the counter with care. "Thank you," she said. "I appreciate your help." The man continued to stand nearby, not in the way, simply present. He did not push forward his own name. He did not point at the line. He did not raise his chin at the chandelier like some guests did when they wanted the ceiling to agree with them. He watched Miss Davenport fill the form and he watched Violet's face, which still carried a doubt that had less to do with computers and more to do with the picture in her mind when she looked at a black hoodie. Arjun copied the card in the clear sleeve and clipped it into the folder. He filled the deposit line. He wrote the room number on a sticky note and placed it under the folder edge, face down. He waited for the manager's word. Before Miss Davenport could sign the manual form, a soft chime sounded from the desk phone. She answered. Her polite face shifted to a careful listening face. "Back office," she said to the room after a moment. "They are running a sync." "Good," the man said. "That will help later." Violet reached for the form. We should hold until Miss Davenport raised a hand. No. We proceed. If the system finds the reservation, good. If not, we have manual. Sandra took the pen. Her hand was steady. She wrote her full name on the signature line. Her name in blue ink felt normal, like signing for a parcel at home. It felt honest and simple. It felt like the opposite of a scene. At that moment, the small boy with the paper crane dropped it and it slid under the counter. He crawled after it. Sandra bent to help, and the boy looked up with wide eyes. He was about to say something, maybe "are you," but his mother's hand rested gently on his shoulder. The boy smiled instead. Sandra passed him the crane and gave the second one a playful little flap so it looked like it might take flight. The father stepped to the side to call his bank again. The card had been blocked for a security reason. He spoke in a low voice, and there was a brief, soft pause when he admitted they had saved for this trip and did not have much extra. The man in the dark jacket listened without staring. He waited for the father to end the call, then approached Arjun. "Does the hotel have a partner hotel a little outside the center?" the man asked quietly. "Yes," Arjun said. "Two, actually. If their card is blocked, can we book the partner hotel and send a taxi?" the man asked. Arjun looked hopeful. "We can, if someone covers the fare, or if the manager approves goodwill." "I will cover the fare," the man said. "Please put it under guest goodwill. Do not write my name. Just do it." Arjun nodded, grateful. He moved briskly toward the computer at the concierge stand. A minute later he had a taxi on the way and a partner booking confirmed. He returned to the family and explained with simple words. The parents blinked, surprised, then deeply relieved. The mother's eyes filled. "Who did this?" she asked. Arjun smiled, kind. "A friend of the hotel," he said. The little boy lifted his crane like a salute. Back at the desk, Miss Davenport slid the manual form to Violet. "Please complete the entry and issue a key," she said. Violet's fingers paused above the keyboard. She looked at Sandra's cap, the hoodie, the worn travel shoes. Something in her face softened for a second. Something else tightened. She typed, and the printer hummed. A small trouble light blinked. "Paper jam," she said. It came out flat. Arjun moved at once, lifted the printer lid, and cleared the jam in 2 smooth motions. He closed it. The printer sang its small song again and the key envelope slid out. Violet held the envelope, then set it down without pushing it forward. "We will still need to confirm in the system," she said. "Rules are rules." "Rules are guardrails," Miss Davenport said gently. "People steer the car." A ripple of soft laughter moved through the line. It was not mean laughter. It was relief, like the room taking a breath. The man beside the desk nodded slightly. He looked at the lobby sign again. "True luxury is dignity for everyone." The words cued another thought. He glanced at the second sign near the concierge, "Community Night, Charity Gala tomorrow." He caught Arjun's eye. Arjun's gaze flicked toward the conference elevator. It was a fast, small signal between people who had noticed the same thing and chosen not to say it out loud. "Here is your key, Miss Bullock," Miss Davenport said. She used the name without flourish. She used it like any guest name. "We have placed you on a quiet floor. If you would prefer a city view, we can switch." Sandra placed a hand lightly on the counter. "A quiet floor is perfect," she said. "Thank you." She slid the empty water glass to the side so it would not tip. She kept the plate of cookies near the edge of the lounge table for others to share. It felt better that way. Violet finally looked up into Sandra's face, truly looked. Recognition flashed for a brief, bright second and then vanished behind a crisp professional mask. "Enjoy your stay," she said. Her voice was neutral now, neither warm nor cool. It was the voice of someone rebalancing on a new rule in her mind. The back office called again. Miss Davenport listened. "Yes," she said. "Yes, I see. Thank you." She put the phone down and turned to the desk. "The sync is complete," she said. "The reservation is confirmed." The room seemed to lean a little toward that sentence and then settle back. It changed nothing essential, yet it closed a circle. "Thank you for your patience," Miss Davenport added. Sandra nodded. "Thank you for helping," she said. She turned to Arjun. "And for the water and cookies and the cranes for the children." Arjun smiled, shy and proud. "Welcome," he said. The man with the book lifted his tea again. He could have gone now. He had no obligation to stay. Yet he stayed for a moment longer and looked at the desk as if there was one more small stone to move so the stream could run clean. "Before you go," he said softly to Miss Davenport, "may I suggest one more thing? On nights like this, when the system is slow, you could post a small card on the counter, 'Manual check-in available with ID and deposit.' That way, no one feels like they are asking for special treatment. They see the path. They use it. The room feels fair." Miss Davenport considered it. Her face cleared. "That is a good idea," she said. "We can do that." Violet listened. She held the key sleeve for the next guest in both hands, as if holding a thought that did not fit inside it. She said nothing. Yet a trace of relief touched her mouth, barely there. The lobby doors opened, and a new group of wet travelers came in, shaking umbrellas. The weather alert on the screen ticked from yellow to orange. A porter brought a cart stacked with extra towels. The piano player switched to a softer tune, like a lullaby for city streets. Sandra turned to go, then paused. The family at the concierge desk was ready to leave for the partner hotel. The taxi would arrive any minute. The little boy waved both cranes at her, left and right, like small birds. Sandra waved back. She caught the mother's eye for an instant. The mother pressed a hand to her heart. The man in the dark jacket put his book back in his pocket. He lifted his tea and took a small sip. His eyes rested on the words beneath the lobby sign. "Dignity for everyone." He set the cup down and spoke once more in that steady, simple way. "If you find yourself short of rooms," he said to Miss Davenport, "please remember the conference floors. I think there is space there tonight." Miss Davenport blinked. How did he know? She looked at Arjun, who looked at the floor and then back up with a tiny shrug. She smiled. "Thank you," she said. "We'll keep that in mind." Violet stared at the conference elevator. A thought moved across her face. She did not name it yet. She looked at Sandra, at the hoodie, at the cap, and at the calm eyes under the brim. She let out a slow breath. "Ma'am," Violet said, and the word sounded different on her tongue now, "if you prefer, we can send tea to your room." "On the house." "That's kind," Sandra said. "Maybe just hot water and lemon. And please send the same to the family before they leave, if there's time." "Of course," Violet said. She turned and relayed the order with a firmer voice, as if the room's new shape fit her better than she expected. Sandra took the key envelope. She thanked Miss Davenport and Arjun. She nodded to the man in the dark jacket with a grateful smile that said, "I saw what you did, and I'm glad you did it quietly." He nodded back. It was the nod of two travelers who had shared a moment and would not need to talk about it later. The elevator arrived with a soft chime. Sandra stepped in. The doors began to close. She kept her head low, peaceful, private, and the last thing she saw before the doors met was Arjun bending toward the family with two steaming cups, and Violet standing taller at the desk as if she had found her balance. On the other side of the doors, the lobby continued to move. Miss Davenport asked the concierge to print a small card about manual check-in and place it by the pens. The man in the dark jacket returned to his chair and his book, but he did not sit. Not yet. He watched Violet greet the next guest with the same tone she had used for the guests before Sandra. He watched her do it again with the guest after that. Each greeting fell into a new rhythm. A minute later, a soft alert blinked on the back screen for management eyes only, conference block holds, available. Miss Davenport tapped the notice. She looked toward the office door at the back. The door was half open. A light moved inside, a shape shifting behind a glass panel. The man in the dark jacket set his tea down and closed his book. He was calm, but his body held a quiet decision. He had tried gentle words. He had offered ideas. The room had changed in small ways. Now there might be a larger step to take, because large steps, too, are sometimes needed to make small changes stay. He walked toward the office door and spoke to the nearest staff member with a smile that reached his eyes. "If the general manager is available," he said, "I would like to speak with him for a moment about policy improvements. It will be brief." The staff member nodded and vanished through the door. The lobby breathed on. Rain tapped the glass. The piano wrapped the air in a soft blanket. And in that small pause before the next page turned, every person in the room felt, without knowing why, that something steady and good was about to happen. The staff member returned from the half-open office door and spoke in a low voice. "Mr. Cole can see you now, sir." The man in the dark jacket gave a small nod, thanked him, and walked through. The door eased shut behind him, soft as a book page turning. Outside, the lobby kept breathing rain on glass, the piano's gentle notes, the printer's steady hum as new keys slid into paper sleeves. Inside the office, the general manager stood by a wall map of the city. He was in his 50s, with careful eyes and a posture that said he liked to fix things before they broke. "Good evening," he said. "I'm Cole." "Thank you for making time," the man replied. He set his tea on a side table. "I'll keep this brief. Your hotel is good. Your team is trying. But your process tonight left some guests standing in the rain, at least in spirit. I'd like to share 3 simple steps you can apply right now." Cole listened without folding his arms. He had already reviewed 2 weather alerts and a forecast showing more delays. He knew nights like this tested a place's heart. "Please go on," he said. "First," the man said, "post a card at the desk, manual check-in available with ID and deposit during system delays. Make the path visible. When people can see it, they don't feel like they're asking for favors." Cole nodded once. It was practical and kind, the sort of change that cost nothing and returned peace. "Second," the man continued, "open your conference block now. You have unsold rooms set aside for tomorrow's event. Assign a batch of them to stranded families and elderly travelers. Use a simple hold and move them tomorrow if needed. It's better to move a rested guest than turn away an exhausted one." Cole hid his surprise. How did this guest know about the block? He checked that thought and kept his focus. "We can do that," he said. "We'll put housekeeping on it." Third, the man said, create a small kindness fund you can use immediately. Taxis to a partner hotel, warm drinks, simple meals. 10 or 20 moments of care tonight will change the room's whole feeling. Cole took a breath. "I agree with all 3, he said. "We have versions of these, but they're scattered. Let's make them clear." He reached for the phone and pressed 2 buttons. "Ops. Open conference level 5 and 6 for overflow. Housekeeping, fast turn 10 rooms. Concierge, print a desk sign for manual check-in and set up tea and blankets by the piano." He paused, listening, then added, "and set aside a goodwill line item for taxis and meals tonight." He hung up and looked back at the man. "Thank you," he said. "You spoke with care, and you noticed the right things. May I ask your name?" The man smiled a little, warm and private. "Names will matter tomorrow," he said. Tonight it's enough that we see the same duty. He reached for his tea. One more small request, if I may. When you go out there, speak to the room, not just the staff. Sometimes guests need to hear the promise to believe it. Cole held the man's gaze for a beat. He had worked hotels long enough to know when someone understood people more than policies. I will, he said. Walk with me. They stepped back into the lobby. At once, the room seemed to lean forward. Miss Davenport looked up from the desk. Arjun set down a stack of fresh towels and lined up pens beside the new sign he had printed, manual check-in available with ID plus deposit during system delays. Violet glanced at the sign, then at the line, as if testing a new bridge before stepping onto it. Cole stood near the front of the desk where the marble opened into a small circle. He did not climb onto anything. He did not raise his hands. He simply spoke with a voice that carried because it was clear, not loud. Good evening, he said. Thank you for your patience. We're entering our storm protocol. Manual check-in is available for anyone with ID and deposit while our system catches up. We're opening extra rooms upstairs for stranded travelers. Tea and blankets are by the piano. If you have families or elders with you, please come forward, we'll prioritize you. Everyone will be helped in the order you arrived. The room relaxed. It was visible the change from a maze to a path. Two elderly sisters stepped up together, their hands linked. A student with a backpack exhaled like a balloon that had been held too tight. The family with the paper cranes listened as the concierge confirmed their taxi and partner booking. For a moment they looked torn between the soft blankets and the ride that would take them to rest. Arjun solved it by bringing the blankets to the door and tucking them over the children's knees for the short drive. Violet slid into the new rhythm. ID and deposit, please, she said to a couple who had watched the earlier scene and stayed silent. Her voice was even now. We'll audit tomorrow morning. Your room is ready. She did not look at the hoodie of the next guest or the suitcase brand of the one after that. She looked at faces, and in faces she saw travel, not status. Miss Davenport moved like a conductor with a small orchestra. She sent Arjun to the conference elevator with 2 keys and a smile. She asked the pianist to play something that sounded like a warm kitchen at midnight. She reminded housekeeping to stock extra water on level 5. She saw the small card by the pen cup and moved it 3 inches to the left so every new guest would see it without thinking. Meanwhile, upstairs, Sandra set her cap on the dresser and stood at the window. The city below was a blur of lights in rain. She poured hot water over lemon in a hotel cup and held it with both hands. The warmth slipped into her fingers and through her shoulders. She did not feel angry. She felt thoughtful, the way a person feels after a long day that ends with a small lesson. She took the hotel notepad and wrote a few lines the way she always did when sleep was near but not ready. Dignity is quiet, she wrote. It does not stand on a chair. It pulls out a chair for someone else. She smiled softly at her own sentence. It wasn't a speech line, not yet, just a thought that had chosen that room to exist in for a while. Her phone buzzed. It was a message from Maya, the coordinator for tomorrow's gala. Welcome, it read. Storm won't stop us. Do you need anything? Sandra typed back, all good. Quick idea during the gala, can we announce a small hospitality training scholarship for frontline staff? 2 spots to start. I'll cover them if needed. Maya responded with a row of thumbs up and a heart made of fireworks. Sandra smiled and set the phone down. Before she slept, she wrote a thank you note for Arjun on the stationery. For the water, the cranes, and the calm, she wrote. You made the room kinder. She sealed the envelope with a simple fold and placed it near the kettle where she would not forget it in the morning. Back in the lobby, the new sign did its work. People read it and shifted from worry to readiness. A woman traveling alone showed her ID with a grateful nod that said she had prepared for no and was surprised by yes. A soaked couple from a late train laughed out loud when they heard the word blankets, the laugh of people who had imagined a cold bench and were given a soft chair instead. A black car rolled up and a man stepped out with 2 assistants and 3 rolling cases. He moved with the easy speed of someone used to being welcomed first. Violet looked up. For a heartbeat her old habit returned, tilted toward the new arrival like a plant bending to a bright window. Then her eyes fell on the sign, and she pulled herself back into the center. "Welcome," she said, the same tone she had used for the student with the backpack. "We're helping guests in arrival order. It will be quick. Tea is just there if you like." The man checked his watch. His assistants shifted. He was about to say something sharp, then he noticed the sisters with linked hands, the student drying his glasses, the little boy with a paper crane on his knee under a thin hotel blanket. He breathed, took off his hat, and gave a small smile. "Of course," he said. "We'll wait." The man in the dark jacket drifted along the edge of the room, not hiding, not seeking. He stopped by Arjun at the conference elevator. "How many rooms can level 5 hold tonight?" he asked. 16, Arjun said. "We'll make it 20 with quick turns." "Good," the man said. "Let's use them." "Sir," Arjun added, lowering his voice, "thank you for the taxi earlier." "Thank you for the cranes," the man replied, and it sounded like he was thanking him for more than folded paper. Cole moved between the desk and the concierge, checking small things that would become big things if left unseen. He watched Violet greet a guest who looked like he had run through the rain and lost a race with the sky. "ID and deposit, please," she said again. Her tone had the weight of fairness now, light and firm at the same time. Cole caught her eye and gave a slight nod that did not excuse the earlier moment but did honor the current one. She straightened, as if a narrow bridge in her mind had finally been replaced by a wide, safe path. After a while, Cole tapped a spoon against a glass to gather attention one more time. "We've opened extra floors," he said. "If you're here for the charity event tomorrow, please let us know as we check you in. We want to place you close to the conference rooms." He glanced at the man beside him, a question in his eyes, respect already in the answer. The man stepped forward by half a step. He did not give a speech. He pointed gently toward the small metal sign by the desk. "A promise is not a wall decoration," he said in a voice that folded easily into the lobby's hum. "It's a practice. Tonight, your team turned a sentence into service. Please keep doing that on quiet nights too, when no one claps, and the lights are not so bright." Guests nodded, not because the words were fancy but because they fit the moment like a key in a worn lock. Miss Davenport wrote a note to herself: "Morning huddle, review manual path, rotate kindness fund approvals," then slipped the note beneath her watch band so she would not forget. The rain eased to a fine mist, like a curtain closing after a soft play. The line thinned. The printer's hum slowed to a pleasant murmur. The pianist closed with a tune that felt like dry socks. Arjun walked the sisters to the conference elevator, then jogged back, light on his feet, to help the student with the backpack. At the door, the family bundled in blankets climbed into the taxi, and the little boy pressed his paper crane flat against the window in a farewell wave. Cole turned to the man in the dark jacket. "Would you consider saying a few words to our team tomorrow, before the event?" he asked quietly. 2 minutes. No pressure. "If it helps," the man said. He was not a person who liked the sound of his own voice. He liked when rooms worked better than they did the day before. "Let's do it before the lobby wakes up." Cole looked toward the office door. Behind the glass, he saw a clipboard with tomorrow's schedule and a printed list of gala sponsors. 2 names on that list matched the quiet lines of the evening like a puzzle piece slipping into place. He did not say the names out loud. He did not need to. He simply felt a calm certainty that the right people had been in the right room at the right time, and that the next day would carry the lesson forward with care. Violet finished with a guest and then, almost as if her feet chose before her head did, she walked to the sign and straightened it by a hair's width. She looked at its smooth surface and saw her own face, small and clear. She whispered something to herself that no one else could hear. It sounded like a promise a person makes in private and keeps in public. The man in the dark jacket picked up his tea. It had cooled, but it tasted fine. He slipped his book from his pocket and ran a thumb along the pages to find his place. He did not open it yet. He looked once around the lobby, the blankets, the tea, the steady desk, the quiet smiles, and let the picture fix itself in his mind. He knew that pictures like this were the best kind of news, the kind that did not need a camera. Upstairs, the light by Sandra's door made a small golden pool on the carpet. She turned off the lamp, and the city's reflections made soft shapes on the ceiling. Her last waking thought was of the little boy's cranes and the new sign by the pens. She did not know yet that the morning would bring a wider circle, a few more changes, and a moment that would make the whole room hold its breath. She did not know, and she slept easily anyway, because the night had already bent toward kindness, and that was enough for now. Morning thinned the rain to a soft mist that floated like breath on the hotel's tall windows. The lobby woke slowly, housekeeping carts rolled, the pianist stretched his fingers, lights warmed from gold to daylight. On the front desk, a small card stood in a clean holder, manual check-in available with ID plus deposit during system delays. Someone had polished the holder until it shone. Sandra woke before her alarm. She felt the steady afterglow of rest and a clear idea that wanted to be useful. She set the kettle to boil, folded the note she had written for Arjun, and tucked a gift card inside. Nothing flashy, just enough for good shoes or a quiet dinner with a friend. She put on the same hoodie and cap, not as armor now but as a promise to herself that comfort could stay simple. Then she stepped into the hallway where the carpet drank sound and the air smelled faintly of lemon. Downstairs, Miss Davenport gathered the morning crew in a half circle. 2 minutes, she said, smiling, a pen and small notepad in hand. First, thank you. Last night was busy. Today we keep the same calm. Manual check-in stays visible. Kindness fund stays active until the storm passes. She tapped her notepad. We'll debrief later, but I want to start with this: small things done at the right time feel like big things to tired guests. Good work. Arjun stood near the end of the half circle, hair neat, uniform fresh, eyes bright with the quiet pride of someone who did the right thing while no one was clapping. Violet stood closer to the desk than usual, not hiding, not center stage. She had slept poorly, not from anger but from thinking. Her hands folded over each other as if keeping a new rule safe. The office door opened. Mr. Cole stepped out in a crisp suit with rain still pearled on his shoulders. Beside him walked the man in the dark jacket from the night before. In this light, his face was plain to see: calm, kind, well known, and yet always surprised by how much people cared about him. A hush moved through the staff like the tide drawing back from a shore. Good morning, Mr. Cole said. We have a brief guest message, then I'll speak. He looked toward the man, an invitation. The man gave a small, friendly nod. He did not climb on anything or ask for lights. His voice carried because it was steady and everyone wanted to hear. Thank you for last night, he said. You turned a difficult evening into a fair one. I travel a lot. I've learned this: policies are tools, not walls. When a system lags, people fill the gap. You did that. Arjun felt his chest lift. The words were simple, the kind he could carry through a long shift without dropping them. The man went on, still gentle. I also saw a moment that could have gone better. I'm not here to shame anyone. I'm here to help us all be braver and kinder the next time. Violet drew a breath and stepped forward before anyone could guide her. I spoke to a guest with a closed mind, she said. Her voice shook, then steadied. I thought I was protecting the hotel. I was protecting my comfort. I'm sorry. She looked at the staff, then at the guests who had drifted near, then at Mr. Cole. I want to be better. Please teach me. No one clapped. No one needed to. The quiet respect that followed was stronger than applause. Miss Davenport's eyes softened. Mr. Cole nodded, once. At that moment, the elevator opened and Sandra stepped into the lobby. She moved without hurry, note for Arjun in her pocket, a calm smile on her face. Several guests turned and then turned again, recognition passing over them like sunlight across a wall. A whisper rose and fell, not of gossip, but of surprise turning into gladness. It was a small, human sound. Mr. Cole's expression shifted from professional to warm. He walked to meet her. "Good morning," he said. "I owe you an apology for last night, and also a thank you. You were patient, and you were kind." "Good morning," Sandra replied. "Please don't be hard on anyone because of me. Nights like that are tests. What matters is what you do next." She looked past Mr. Cole to the staff circle and then to the man in the dark jacket. Their eyes met. The same quiet understanding from the night before sat between them, real and easy. "We were just talking about next," the man said with a half smile. "Maybe we can make it clear together." Mr. Cole glanced at the busy lobby, then back at them. "If you're willing, a short circle, staff and any guests who want to listen." 2 minutes. Sandra nodded. 2 minutes is perfect. They formed a broader circle: front desk, concierge, housekeeping leads, bell staff, the pianist, a few curious guests standing with travel mugs and patient faces. Rain traced slow lines down the glass. A child fiddled with a paper crane. The room felt open, like a page ready for the right words. Mr. Cole began. "Last night we promised 3 things. First, when our system is slow, manual check-in is available to anyone with ID and deposit. Second, we opened extra floors so no one sleeps cold. Third, we set up a kindness fund for simple help: taxis, tea, meals. We keep those today." He looked to Sandra. She spoke in simple phrases, each one landing like a steady step. "Dignity looks like small help at the right time. A glass of water. A clear sign. A voice that sounds the same for every guest. When you give that, people feel safe. When people feel safe, they act kinder too. It spreads." She glanced at Arjun and smiled. "Last night, kindness spread because one person took a step." "Thank you." Arjun flushed and stared at the floor, then up again. "You're welcome," he said, barely above a whisper. The man in the dark jacket lifted his hand slightly, a soft signal. "I'd like to add 2 more steps," he said. "Sandra and I are in town for a charity gala. We can support training that makes these promises permanent." He turned to Mr. Cole. "If your team is open to it, we'll fund 2 hospitality training scholarships for front-line staff this year: paid time, tuition, travel if needed." The circle went still. It wasn't the size of the gift that shocked them. It was the speed, the fit, the way the offer grew directly from a night's lesson without theater. Mr. Cole found his voice. "We accept, with gratitude," he said. His tone held both relief and resolve. "We'll choose fairly and we'll share what we learn with everyone." Sandra said, "I'd like one spot to go to someone who used calm under pressure and noticed people others might miss." She looked at Arjun. "If you want it, the first scholarship is yours." Arjun blinked fast. His mouth opened and closed once, the way a person's does when their future shifts by an inch you can feel under your feet. "Ah yes," he said. "Yes, please." His voice steadied. "I won't waste it." "Good," Mr. Cole said, joy showing through his careful manager's frame. "We'll plan with you and your family, Arjun, so it fits your life." The man looked across the staff with that same even care. For the second spot, I trust your leaders, he said. Pick someone who shows growth, not just perfection. Someone who runs toward a better way. Violet understood the sentence without anyone pointing. She did not expect the second spot. She did not want a prize for a mistake. She wanted a road. May I join the training sessions we already have? She asked Miss Davenport. All of them. From the start. Yes, Miss Davenport said at once. And you can help me update the scripts. We'll make sure the words match the promise. A few guests clapped then, not loud, not long, but with the sincerity of people who had watched something change and felt lucky to witness it. The pianist, unsure whether to play, set fingers on keys and let a gentle chord bloom, like a ribbon tying a gift. Mr. Cole turned to Sandra and the man. There's one more thing, he said quietly. We have a top-floor suite open because a speaker cancelled. It would be an honor to offer it to you. Thank you, Sandra said, but I'm comfortable where I am. She looked around the room, thinking. Could the suite go to guests who had the hardest night instead? The elderly sisters, perhaps. Or the student with the long layover. Or she paused. That family who went to the partner hotel. We can call them, Mr. Cole said. We can credit their stay and bring them back tomorrow, or upgrade them on their return. We'll make sure the help lands where it's needed. Perfect, she said. Thank you. The man added, and if any partner hotel guests need breakfast covered today, put it on our Goodwill tab. Done, Mr. Cole said. The circle loosened into motion. Housekeeping leads peeled off to prep the suite. Concierge picked up the phone with a smile. Guests murmured to each other about kindness like it was a weather pattern they wanted to keep. Sandra slipped the envelope to Arjun. A small thank you, she said. Please don't open it now. Just know it comes with respect. He tucked it into his inner pocket the way you'd tuck a letter from home. Thank you, he said again, a little taller now, a little wider in the shoulders, like a young tree after good rain. Violet approached Sandra with palms open, a gesture of honesty learned in a different chapter of her life and remembered just in time. I'm sorry for yesterday, she said. Not for the computer. For my voice. I accept your apology, Sandra said. And I hope today is better for you because of yesterday. That's the point. It will be, Violet said, and it sounded true because she believed it first and said it second. Mr. Cole addressed the room once more. 2 quick updates, he said. We'll post the manual check-in card in 3 languages by noon. And we'll hold a 15-minute dignity drill at the start of every storm shift so no one wonders what to do. We'll practice it on quiet days too. Practice makes calm, the man said, almost to himself, and smiled. A guest approached shyly, a woman with a suitcase that had seen better trips. Excuse me, she said to the man, I don't want a photo. I just want to say, thank you for caring in the way you do. He nodded, grateful for the plainness. Thank you for saying so, he replied. The lobby returned to its rhythm keys, wheels, soft voices, a darker coffee aroma curling in from the breakfast room. On the desk, the small card caught a bar of light and shone like a promise kept. Outside, the rain paused long enough for the street to take a breath. Before stepping away, Sandra looked at Mr. Cole. Tonight at the gala, may we share 1 minute from the hotel? No names, just the idea how a place can choose dignity and make it routine. Yes, Mr. Cole said. Please do. And if you would, send me your words after. I'll put them in our training notes. I will, she said. The man glanced at the clock above the concierge. I think we have just enough time to visit the kitchen, he said to Sandra. They were brewing kindness by the gallon last night. Let's thank them too. They walked toward the service corridor, passing the pianist who offered a tiny bow, and a housekeeper who paused with a basket of fresh towels and grinned without meaning to. Near the door to the back hallway, a maintenance tech was fixing a squeaky hinge. Sandra held the door. The tech tested the hinge. The door swung smooth and quiet. Small things, right on time. In the kitchen, steam rose from silver pans, and the sweet smell of baked apples filled the air. The chef looked up, surprised, then pleased. "You brought the weather with you," he joked. "And now you bring the sun." "Thank you for the tea and the lemon," Sandra said. "It held the night together." "And thank you for the extra meals," the man added. "You gave comfort without measuring it." The chef shrugged in the humble way of someone who knows food becomes love when it's shared. "We do what we can," he said. They returned to the lobby through the same quiet door. Arjun was helping the elderly sisters to the elevator, his steps matched to theirs, his hand light at the rail. Violet was greeting a traveler with the same warm tone she had used for the last 3. Miss Davenport was setting a small timer on her phone for the noon cart translation deadline. Mr. Cole was writing scholarship plan draft today at the top of a fresh page. The moment was not loud. It did not need to be. The shock, if anyone felt it, came not from celebrity or ceremony, but from the way kindness had arrived like a sunrise inevitable once it began, touching every surface, changing the color of the day without asking permission. Sandra and the man in the dark jacket shared a last look with the staff, a simple look that said, "Keep going." Then they moved toward the doors to greet the weather as it was clearer now, but still honest. Behind them, the little metal sign at the desk stood steady, catching light, reminding anyone who read it that promises are best when they are small enough to use and strong enough to last. By late afternoon the sky had washed itself clean. The sidewalks shone, and the hotel's tall windows reflected a brighter city. Inside, the lobby had the rested feeling of a place that had passed a test and kept its balance. The small card at the desk remained in its holder, manual check-in available with ID plus deposit during system delays, quiet as a lighthouse in calm water. Arjun finished a training call with the scholarship coordinator and stood for a moment by the service corridor, letting the good news settle in his chest. Orientation dates were set. The first class covered listening skills, conflict de-escalation, and service recovery. He could attend without losing pay. When the call ended, he dialed home. His mother answered on the second ring. "Am I?" he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "I have a chance to study. Proper training. The hotel is helping." There was a small silence full of air and smiles. "Then you must take it," she said. "You worked for this. Be humble. Learn everything." "I will," he said. When he hung up, he stood taller without noticing. At the front desk, Violet and Miss Davenport went line by line through updated scripts. They were simple on purpose. "Good afternoon. Welcome. May I see your ID?" sounded the same for every guest, no matter the coat or suitcase or shoes. "We can use manual check-in right now, it's quick," matched the sign. "I'm sorry for the wait." "Thank you for your patience," came naturally after a delay, not as a performance but as a fact. They practiced greetings with each other until the words felt lived in. Then Violet opened a blank email and wrote a note to Sandra. It was short. "I am sorry for my tone last night. I let stress speak for me. Thank you for your calm. I am learning." She read it once, deleted 3 extra words, and pressed send. In the office, Mr. Cole printed 2 one-page sheets and pinned them to the staff board. The first was a storm night checklist: post the card, open overflow rooms, start the kindness fund, and assign one person as comm captain. The second was a standing policy: manual check-in allowed when systems lag. He added a line under both: practice on quiet days. He looked at the clock, looked at the ballroom prep schedule, and exhaled. It would be a full evening, but the work felt clean. Mid-afternoon, the family who had gone to the partner hotel returned for a quick visit before their train. The concierge had insisted. The kids ran into the lobby with their paper cranes held high like flags. Sandra came down to meet them. She knelt so her face was level with theirs and asked about the beds and the breakfast and whether the taxi ride felt like flying. The little boy said it did. The mother's eyes shone. "Thank you," she said to Sandra, and then, turning to Arjun, "Thank you for the blankets and for calling us back. No one has ever treated us like this in a big hotel." Arjun only shook his head. "You are guests," he said. "This is your home for a little while. That is all." As evening drew near, the ballroom glowed. Chandeliers sent small constellations across white tablecloths. Staff set out simple centerpieces, green branches in clear glass, and tested the microphones with soft vowels. The event supported community programs in the city. There would be brief speeches, a short film, and music not loud enough to drown a conversation. Sandra arrived early in a plain black dress and comfortable shoes. Keanu followed in his usual dark jacket, quietly greeting staff by name as if he had worked beside them for years. They walked the room with the ease of people who cared first about who would feel welcome. Sandra checked the ramps to the stage. Keanu spoke with the sound engineer about making the microphones gentle on the ears. Guests flowed in: neighbors, teachers, small business owners, a few familiar faces from the city's screens, and several hotel staff invited as thanks. Violet came on her break in her neat uniform, a little nervous but determined to sit and listen. Arjun slipped into the back, hands still restless from the shift. Miss Davenport sat near the aisle with a pen and a notepad dated for tomorrow, ready to catch good ideas before they drifted away. The program began with a short film about simple help making real change, a classroom with new books, a kitchen where a shared meal turned strangers into neighbors, a park where a bench and a light invited safety. The pictures were ordinary, that was the point. Then Maya stepped to the microphone. "Thank you for showing up," she said. "Tonight is about showing up for each other." She invited Mr. Cole to the stage. He spoke for 2 minutes, clear and warm. He did not mention famous guests. He thanked his team by role and told a small story about a storm plan that became a kindness plan. "Our promise is not marble and chandeliers," he said. "Our promise is a glass of water at the right moment." Sandra went next. Her voice was steady and human, as if she were speaking to one person in a quiet room. "We judge places by the way they hold us when we are tired," she said. "Last night I was tired. Your team made room for dignity to stand up. It was not dramatic. It was solid. I hope we all remember this when life is not easy." She gestured toward the back and smiled. "Two people here reminded me how small steps work. Arjun, who carried calm in his pocket, and Violet, who chose to learn in public. That is courage." Arjun flushed and looked at his shoes. Violet's eyes filled, then cleared. The applause they received felt like a blanket set gently across their shoulders, warm but not heavy. Finally, Keanu walked to the microphone. He rested his hands lightly on the sides of the lectern and took a breath that quieted the room. "I travel a lot," he began, in that even voice. "I see different doors, different carpets, different views. But in every city I see the same two choices: we can measure people by their status, or we can measure them by their humanity. Last night your hotel chose the second." He paused, as if weighing the next words with care. "I have a small proposal that may be a big help. I'm calling it Storm Nights. It's simple. We prepay a pool of room night vouchers across partner hotels in the city, to be used for stranded travelers when weather or systems fail. No forms at midnight. No come back tomorrow. The voucher covers the night, a hot drink, and breakfast. The only condition is fairness: first come, first safe. Tonight, I'll fund the first 100 nights. If anyone here wants to join, We'll open a page after the event. This is not a headline. It's a habit. For a heartbeat, the ballroom was still. Then a sound rose, not a roar, but a low, surprised wave of relief and approval, like air finding its way back into a chest. Hands lifted around the room. A teacher raised hers. A mechanic raised his. A bakery owner whispered to her partner and raised both. Mr. Cole pressed his lips together and blinked hard. What shocks me, still, Keanu added gently, is how far a little good can travel when you show it the door. He looked out across the room as if looking at a horizon only he could see. Let's make this normal. Pledge cards slid from the centerpieces like small birds taking flight. Maya nodded to volunteers, who moved with quiet efficiency. Sandra squeezed Keanu's hand as he stepped down, a quick private thank you that said you did the right thing the right way. Music rose, soft and hopeful. People talked, not about who sat where or who wore what, but about how vouchers could work, which hotels would join, how to keep it simple. Violet wrote storm nights, scripts, steps, signs on her notepad with 3 small stars. Arjun sent a text to his mother, there is more kindness in the world than I knew. Later, after speeches and soup and a small cake that tasted like sunshine, Sandra slipped out early. She liked to end big nights with a quiet walk. Keanu joined her. They took the service corridor to the lobby, where the desk lamp laid a warm circle of light over the card holder and the pen cup. A new wave of late arrivals had come in after the gala. Some had wet collars and tangled hair, like people who had fought the wind and won. The desk hummed with the steady rhythm of the new practice. ID and deposit, please, Violet said to a guest who looked like he wanted to sleep standing up. We'll do manual check-in. It will be quick. She glanced up and met Sandra's eyes. There was no drama in her face now, only work done well and the relief of being aligned with your own values. Keanu looked around and, on a small private impulse, stepped behind the bell stand. He took an extra luggage strap and looped it deftly. Arjun looked up, startled, then smiled. Keanu gave him a small shrug, like a boy with a kite waiting for wind. Mind if I help for a bit? Keanu asked. Arjun shook his head, delighted. If you take the cart to the elevator and back, sir, he said with playful ceremony, you'll make 3 people's nights shorter. Done, Keanu said. For the next 20 minutes, a quiet, funny scene unfolded that the lobby would remember for years. Keanu rolled the cart with easy care, loaded 2 suitcases for a pair of grandparents who had never ridden in a glass elevator, and showed them how the room key makes the little light blink. He fetched extra towels for a runner with sore legs and waited while the runner tested the hot water, thumbs up through the door. He gave the student with the long layover the kind of directions that are really encouragement: turn left by the plant that looks like a small tree, and you'll find the breakfast room. The late tea is good. No one asked for a photo, the mood made that feel wrong. People smiled the way you smile at neighbors shoveling the same patch of snow. Mr. Cole watched with an expression that mixed amusement and gratitude and a kind of wonder that kindness could keep inventing new shapes. When the last late guest had a key and a plan, Keanu returned the cart to its place. He wiped a small rain mark from the handle with a napkin and set the strap straight. Arjun gave him a half bow and a grin that wouldn't leave his face. Thank you for your shift, Arjun said. Thank you for your shift, Keanu echoed. They bumped knuckles like teammates. It felt right. Near the doors, the elderly sisters, now upgraded to the top floor suite, came through in matching cardigans, hand in hand. We can see the river from the bathtub, one whispered to Sandra, eyes bright with the delight of a good surprise at an age when surprises are rare. It looks like ribbon. I'm so glad, Sandra said. Violet approached with 2 envelopes. She handed one to Mr. Cole, revised scripts for approval, and one to Sandra, a printed copy of the apology email, signed in ink. I wanted to write it with a pen too, she said softly. So I remember. Thank you, Sandra replied. You will remember. You already have. The lobby cooled into the late hour. The pianist had gone home. The lamps drew warm islands on the marble. Staff carried away the last empty cups and straightened the mint bowls. Outside, the city traded rain for faint stars. Before heading up, Sandra took out the small notepad again and wrote 3 more lines. Make it easy to do the right thing. Practice on quiet days. Let kindness be boring, then it becomes strong. She tore the page and gave it to Mr. Cole. For the training notes, she said. He read it once and nodded. Perfect, he said. We'll put it at the top. Arjun slipped the envelope Sandra had given him from his pocket. Alone for a moment near the service hall, he opened it. Inside was a short note and a card. The note read, for good shoes and a day off with someone you love. Thank you for making the room kinder. He closed his eyes, then opened them with a new brightness. He would buy shoes that could carry him far and still feel like standing still. Violet took a photograph of the small desk card with her phone, not to post, not to share, but to make it her lock screen. Every time she unlocked her phone, she would see it, manual check-in available. It reminded her that clarity can be compassion. Keanu and Sandra stood for a last moment by the glass doors, watching a taxi lantern slide across the wet street. Storm nights will work, Sandra said. It will work because other people will carry it, he said. We just gave it a push. They turned back to the room and took it in, the sign, the pens, the even way Violet said good night, the way Arjun waved at the security guard and the security guard waved back, the way Mr. Cole wrote dignity drill first Friday on the staff board without a flourish, just a plan. Ready? Keanu asked. Ready, Sandra said. They took the elevator up, side by side, silent as friends who have said enough for one day. The doors closed on a lobby that would look ordinary to anyone walking in tomorrow. But the ordinary was different now. It had a manual path posted in clear words. It had a fund with receipts and a purpose. It had a promise on the wall that had moved into people's hands. The final image of the night was simple, a small metal sign catching a soft bar of light, a bell cart parked straight, a stack of clean blankets ready for the next storm, and a quiet hotel breathing like a person who has learned, and will keep learning, on bright days and rainy ones alike.